From the newsroom of Impact Alpha, I'm Monique Aiken, and this is your Impact Briefing for Friday, March 3rd. Today, I'm joined by Sana Kapadia, Director of Strategy for 2X Global, to talk about the latest in the world of gender lens investing, just in time for Women's History Month. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Monique. So good to see you.
Well, thanks for coming. But first, here's what you need to know from the week in impact investing. President Biden has a chance to educate the public about ESG. The president is expected to veto a bill passed by both houses of Congress, blocking a Labor Department rule allowing pension fund managers to consider environmental, social, and governance factors in their investment decisions. Two companies Impact Alpha has been closely tracking announced big raises this week. Block Power raised $24 million in equity and $130 million of debt to electrify and decarbonize buildings, especially those in low-income and underserved communities and communities of color. Investors include CNN host Van Jones and NBA star Russell Westbrook. And Bitwise Industries, which started in Fresno, California, raised $80 million to upskill workers on the south side of Chicago. Bitwise helps prepare low-income communities for high-growth tech jobs and now works in Toledo, Ohio, El Paso, Texas, and Buffalo, New York, as well as in California's Central Valley. Impact Alpha was on the scene at this week's Latin America Impact Investing Forum in Merida, Mexico. Agents of Impact presented new strategies and opportunities to invest in sustainable agriculture, land restoration, and conservation. Another theme, smarter and more affordable products and services for low and middle income consumers. Hi, Sana. Welcome to the show.
So good to see you, Monique. Thanks for having me here today. Such a pleasure.
So you and the team over at 2X Global have been really, really busy. New name, new collaborators, mergers. Can you share with us a little bit about the organization, your mission, and some notable milestones to date?
So 2X Global is the coming together of Gender Smart, a global field building initiative, and the 2X Collaborative, which has been at the forefront of the 2X Challenge and working with large development finance institutions around mobilizing capital with a gender lens. And in this new merged form that came into fruition January this year, we are both a field building and a membership based organization with the mission of unlocking gender smart capital at scale. And it has definitely been busy. We're getting our strategy together, refining what we're going to be doing under sort of each pillar of our strategic core, adding new team members, growing our membership base. So yes, a busy start to the year all around.
So what have you all been accomplishing together? What are some milestones we can point to?
Yeah, so making progress on a number of fronts. So, for example, our 2X Ignite initiative, which is focused on first-time and diverse fund managers. We just launched a GP sprint in Africa to help a set of, I think it's 7 fund managers get to a first close. We have 2X certification, which is well underway in terms of a co-creation process to help set a next set of verifiable sort of standards for gender lens investing. Our communities of practice are just getting underway, thematic and otherwise. And as I said, more members coming on board and expanding our global community of actors across the spectrum, to name a few things.
That definitely sounds like more than a few. So in your work, and as we can observe, women all over the world continue to fight for reproductive freedom, full economic participation in their countries, more inclusive democracy in their countries, freedom from gender-based violence and other things, including right here where I sit in the United States and, everywhere else. And though we know that the closest thing to a silver bullet when it comes to poverty elimination and solving the climate crisis is educating girls. Tell us how 2X plugs into all of these things and is actually mobilizing the billions needed and doing so with an intersectional lens.
Thanks, Monique. So the mission, as I said, is really unlocking gender smart capital at scale. And we do that through equipping and engaging the full spectrum of investors, intermediaries, and investment influencers to really integrate a gender lens across all their activities. Ultimately, what our community stands behind is that gender is material and inequity is a systemic risk. So having conversations around the broader frame of diversity, thinking about a Jedi lens around justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, being able to integrate gender-based violence, and health into investment process and analysis. These are all parts of conversations that investors in our community are having, and then mobilizing capital with that lens, right? And increasingly, we've become more intersectional in our thinking and thinking about the and rather than the or, right? So it's gender and climate and race or other systemic inequities. Um, and we do this, as I said, through our communities of practice and moving away from that siloed thinking and to more systemic approaches of having an integrated way to be investing in the future we all know is possible and need and want, one that's just, equitable, and powered by sustainability and equal opportunity for all.
Well, I'm on board with that goal in so many ways. And of course, my day job at TIP, we talk a lot about system level investing as a means. So generally, momentum is building. And I said billions before, but I guess I should have said we really need trillions. And so we have a long way to go to achieve parity on any dimension that we were talking about. What are some of the barriers that remain and some of the market gaps as you see them that need to be filled? And
Yeah, I mean, I think that where the field is at from a broader gender finance perspective is that undoubtedly, large strides have been made. Lots of capital has moved. The 2x challenge alone has surpassed its original goal of 3 billion to mobilize over 11 billion, and is on track to meet the 15 billion target. We need more, and we need more at scale. And the solution set that I think we've built as a field in terms of different flavors of capital, starting to think about more fit for purpose capital, we need to start being able to blueprint some of those ideas, and continue to build the plumbing as we do that, right? That's part of the process. Structural barriers are frankly also still persist, right? Like and this goes back to our conversation on more systemic approaches. I think what's happening on the disclosure and regulation side as well is quite interesting and one to continue to keep an eye on in the ways that we can better align incentives in the investment industry more broadly. And I think another tension there is the least common denominator effect versus where we can have more of a stretch and be thinking about that sort of next frontier. And then finally, I think it's this aspect around we still need a mindset shift that then gets into deeper organizational willingness, commitment, and you might have how do we make everybody a champion of this, just not a few, and that it's across, as entrepreneurs, as founders, as funders, as leaders, across the entire value chain. That's when we'll have the broader systemic impact that I know we're all seeking.
absolutely, I think we got to change our minds first before we change our actions. And what ways are we actually influencing the narrative generally that allows a new imagination? We have what we have, and it's flawed. How do we imagine something we've never seen, a more just world that is, from all these dimensions of gender identity and ability and race, ethnicity, caste, all of the rest? And so, this Women's History Month and beyond, what should we all be doing to kind of gather that new imagination, work together? Women hold up half the sky. If our work is to be successful and more people and the planet have a chance, not just at surviving, but potentially even thriving, how? How do we get there?
Yeah, I think Monique, you said it. It's 50%, right? If we're not thinking about half the world, then it's a missed opportunity completely. And if we're not thinking about how that is integrated across all levels of the value chain of investment of society more broadly, there's not only are you missing out on the dividend that diversity brings, but then also you're exposing your portfolio to risk. So I think a call to action here is gender is material. Inequity is a systemic risk. We need to be as we future proof our portfolios, we need to be thinking about these risks in a very live, tangible way right now. And also be, thinking whether more integrated approaches make sense or more intentional approaches. Find your entry point. There's lots in terms of the how that's already been built, but this is just smart investing.
Hear, hear. So, what's next for 2X Global, and where can folks go to follow along with what you're building?
Lots coming next, so definitely check out our website for lots of updates. Quickly, I'll point to, as I mentioned, our 2X certification process. We're in this co-creation, so watch out for more details on workshops that are coming about. In 2 weeks, we actually have a launch of a report that we've just put out, the Inclusive Climate Finance Report, that's at the intersection of gender, finance, and a broader diversity and Jedi lens. More on the website. We've put a call out for a forum, which is a long-term strategic engagement pillar with more civil society, feminist rights organizations. Join us as members. We definitely want to expand and grow our community. So there's a few ways for folks to be engaged. And we hope you rejoin us on this journey on our mission to unlock gender smart capital at scale.
Well, thank you so much for joining and sharing, and I look forward to seeing all the great work and becoming a member too.
Thank you so much, Monique, and thank you for the opportunity. It's been great to chat today.
And that's going to do it for this week's Impact Briefing. Thanks to Sana and our producer, Isaac Silk. Ready to try Impact Alpha? Sign up for Impact Alpha Open, free of charge, directly at impactalpha.com. Want to go deeper? Grab a subscription and get full access to the site, Agents of Impact calls, and the daily email brief. Just go to impactalpha.com/subscribe and choose an annual subscription. Thank you for listening. I'm Monique Aiken, Managing Director for TIP, the Investment Integration Project. Be sure to check back for next week's briefing, and until next time, take good care.